This is the Magene PES P505. It's a crank-based power meter for Shimano compatible components, and the price, just $299. And if you're looking for an affordable, accurate crank-based power meter, I think I've got a winner here for you. Okay, the Magene PES P505 here is a very affordable crank-based power meter with an accuracy of plus or minus 1.5%. And we'll look at some data here shortly, but I first wanted to talk about what you can expect if you do decide that this is the right power meter for you. Now, when purchasing, you'll need to decide what crank length you want. It comes in a 165, 167.5, 170, 172.5, and a 175 millimeter crank length. 172.5 tends to be the standard. I actually chose 165 just because I do tend to gravitate towards shorter crank lengths when I'm using it on a TT bike. Shorter crank lengths just tend to help you like pivot forward at the hip just a little bit more, giving you a little bit more room to pedal, I guess. But what's nice about this is it has a 24 millimeter steel spindle. I was able to just slide out my Dura-Ace crank, slide this one in to replace it. Switching the entire thing out probably took about 15 minutes in total. And I've been using Magene's 5236 tooth chain rings. You'll see options if you do decide to buy this when you check out. You can pick between 5034, 5236, and 5339 tooth chain rings. Keep in mind that buying any of these extra options is an extra $75. And you can always use your current 4-bolt compatible chain rings with this crank-based power meter. Now, the Magene PES provides both Bluetooth and ANT+ wireless connectivity options. I didn't have any problems spinning it to wake it up and then connecting it to a bike computer or an iPad that was running Zwift. And it'll register power data all the way from 0 watts up to 2,500 watts. Of course, I wasn't able to test the upper limits of this power meter. Not 100% my fault. Sadly, I have what many doctors would call chicken leg syndrome. No fault of the power meter, but the power meter itself will also provide cadence data. It has a claimed accuracy anywhere in that range from 20 RPM all the way up to 200 RPM. It'll also provide left-right balance of force, but keep in mind that this is just an estimation. It's not a true dual-sided power meter, so it can't really provide you with balance information like that. But the power meter will also self-calibrate. I always do kind of that standard back pedal spin to signal it to begin a calibration, but you can also calibrate it manually, and you can do that from the mobile application, or you can select calibration from a lot of the cycling computer head units that are out there. Speaking of the mobile application, I'll say it's okay. It's nothing to like really write home about. Not that you even really need it at all. I only really used it once to check for new firmware for the device, and then really only like once more just to kind of prove that you can calibrate the device from the mobile application. The application is available on both Apple App Store as well as Android's Google Play Store, but for the most part, I really don't think that you need this Magene utility app. Okay, a couple of data sets to look at, but I'll say that the gist of this is that all of my power data looks extremely solid. I've been comparing this Magene PES P505 to 2 other power meters, the Wahoo PowerLink Zero dual-sided power meter pedals, and then the Tacx Neo 2 bike trainer here. So we're measuring power at the pedals, the crank, and kind of near the cassette area going into the bike trainer. First set of data here, kind of a steady state ride with a couple of like random little kind of pickups if I was trying to pick up someone on Zwift or hang with someone. For the most part, all three of these power meters track extremely closely together. If you look at this kind of slight pickup here, I don't know, it was like around 300 watts or whatever, they're almost exactly the same. I think towards the end of the ride, there was a couple of spots where I was kind of up over 400 watts. Again, they all look pretty close as well. And then a second set of data here, where towards the end I did, a couple of like sprint type efforts. Not that I can really sprint for much, but I did get over 700 watts here. And you can see that again, all three of these power meters really track very, very closely. Again, showing me that that this power meter is on par with power meters that are in that like $1,000 range, which is super impressive. Speaking of other devices or other power meters, real quick, I do want to mention a few other competitive options for us to consider. There's a company called 4i that does a power meter. I think they call it like their precision power meter. They also have like the Precision 3 Plus Pro power meters. Naming convention is a little bit tricky, but it has kind of a range of prices that you can look through. And you can actually send off your crank arm, or you can send off the entire crank to get a power meter factory installed. Prices range from about $300 all the way up to about $530 or so. But what I like about 4i is that they have some options that have Apple's Find My network built right into them. Super cool. If you are within the Apple ecosystem, super nice. You could just like pull up your phone and find your bike or find at least where your power meter is. Similarly, affordable power meter option might be something like Stages. They tend to range in price from about $400 up to about $800. For Stages, a crank-based power meter like this one, probably looking at closer to, $450 or $500. But Stages is one of those companies that's been around for a long time. They've been making affordable power meters for years. And it's another company for sure to consider. There's also pedal-based power meters. They've definitely been more and more popular over the past few years. Garmin makes one called their Rally pedals. They used to be called the Vector pedals, now they're called Rally, but they're somewhere between $650 or $1,000, depending on if you get the dual-sided or the single-sided options. There's also the Wahoo SpeedPlay PowerLink pedals. Similar price, really. They're basically the exact same price. So if you are on the other side of things and you like that SpeedPlay type of clip-in pedals, those would be a good way to go for sure. And I think that the allure of pedal-based power meters is that people would switch them between bikes, but they do end up costing a little bit more as well. Now, I do feel like there's a lot of really good, accurate power meter options at reasonable prices these days. It's fantastic for those of us that really believe in power-based training. But I love that Magene is really pushing the limit here with this PES P505. Okay, wrapping this up, and you probably already know what I'm gonna say here. This thing is good. I think it's really good. I definitely wouldn't hesitate to recommend this device for you guys to consider. I feel like Magene is really delivering on the promise of an affordable, accurate power meter with this device. I mean, do we want more? Sure. I mean, I guess we always want more. I guess I would love to see things like Apple's Find My built right into this one. But for the money, as far as value goes, value for dollar, I really do think this is a great option here. But what do you guys think? Is this something that you would consider? I feel like if I were new to power meters, or maybe I even wanted like a second affordable power meter, I think I would definitely consider snagging this one. Either way, for you guys, power meter or no power meter at all, I really do hope that you're getting out there, swimming, biking, running, rinsing, and repeating it all over again. And we will see you guys on the next one.